Not your average tabletop. Woohoo!
Welcome back to Not Your Average Tabletop. I'm Zach.
And I'm Pepper.
And we're back at our alphabet soup chippies.
Up to the letter F. Although this could technically be a number. I usually probably write it down as a number. So maybe we should cover that last with the Seven Wonders and the like.
That's true. But this
Let's
is
cancel the review.
Wow, this is 5 tribes.
5 tribes.
If you didn't know. Yes, it's a game from Days of Wonder.
Days of Wonder. And more importantly, Bruno Cathala.
That's the most important to Pepper. But I think this is one that we've kind of had in our collection for a while now. We probably got it earlier than...
Yeah, probably our first 20 games, at least, for sure.
Mm-hmm. But I think it was on Will Wheaton's Tabletop or something. I think is where I saw this one. It looked really, really interesting. Had a decent amount going on, but it also looked kind of simple enough that even at that time when I wasn't as experienced, it was more of just the Ticket to Ride and Carcassonne, Catan games that we'd played. Still seemed approachable enough. But yeah.
Yeah,
so
leading us off with the core mechanics, putting the C in CHIPPI, I give this one a 10. A perfect 10, I would say. This, I'm just going to say it right now, I love this game, and the core mechanic is you have a grid of tiles with different benefits on them, and there are a ton of meeples, like 5 on each tile you set up, and you are choosing a group and moving them in kind of a mancala type thing. So you're leaving one on each spot that you pass through, and then the final spot that you end on, you take that meeple, that last meeple in your hand, the color of it, and you take the rest of the meeples on your ending spot of that color. And each of the meeples has a unique ability. So I think blue gets you money for kind of that tile and the surrounding tiles, and red will help you assassinate people, and kind of the amount of reds that you pick up is how far you can shoot. I just really love all of those unique abilities and the mancala aspect of it. And there's so much going on, but I feel it's pretty smooth. I think there's not a lot of thought that you have to go through. There's not a lot of rules checking, I wouldn't say. There's a lot of thinking because of all the options, but it's not one where it's like, how does this work again? You can pretty much get it down pretty quickly, I would say.
Yeah, I agree, and this is maybe one if Michaela had played it more, would probably be good to have her thoughts on it, because I think we're both going to be in similar votes, because I really love this game as well. I give it a 10 as well for the core mechanics. I love how the mancala works, and with the combination of placing those meeples and making it possibly more powerful action for what each one does individually. It just combines together so well. One of them is kind of a green one, which interacts with a goods market, which kind of has a little bit of set collection, which is nice. It's kind of a little added on there, but I think it works really well. It's a game. It gives that color of meeple a reason to be there, I think, which is really nice. And then like the tiles themselves have different powers on them depending. So you'll get the power of the meeples plus whatever the thing does, whatever the tile does, and the tiles you just mix up to make your board. I just find how it works really, really great. I think the only thing that it's prone to is, like you said, analysis paralysis. So if you really suffer with that, and really are someone that can't mentally stop themselves from trying to find the best move, then this one would definitely not be a 10 for that person at all. I feel like I still struggle with that, but if you really do or are kind of against that happening, then this one, I don't know if that would be a 10 for you.
We definitely struggle with it, but there's usually enough good moves out there that you can find something and settle on that. And that's another thing about it is kind of the bidding for turn order. Your coins are points. So you're bidding on turn order, like you want to be first because you see a really good move out there, and especially in a 2-player game where you each have 2 pawns for your 2 turns in the round, and to try to get maybe a back-to-back action, those first 2 actions, because you see something really juicy out on the board. But how much are you going to have to spend to, for sure, those first 2 spots, and is it even worth it?
Right. Yeah, I really like the bidding in this game, especially, like you said, a 2-player, because, you could potentially do some really good stuff. And then even if, like if they're going to go out of their way to spend a lot of money to try to get those, if you can kind of just get your way into paying almost nothing, I mean, then really they have to make up those extra points of what they spent.
So if they're
I just really like how that works.
Like 28 points, but they're spending 20, and you're spending almost nothing, and you're getting 10 points, you're beating them.
Right. Yeah. It just works really, really well. I think.
It does.
History. I could put a 10 on there. I think right away we definitely played it quite a bit when we didn't have as many games.
Yeah, as the last couple of years,
we probably haven't played it quite as much.
Sadly, very sadly, we haven't played it that much. But yeah, I'd still say it's hit that 10 mark.
So that gets us into investment, which, like I'd said, I think can be really thinky. So the game can kind of go on. It could go on a little long. Otherwise, I think you can create kind of, I wouldn't say it's quite a stand-up moment, but it can create exciting moments when you do something really cool where you maybe clear out 2 different tiles and put 2 camels out on them. Because tiles at the end of the game, if you control them, they're worth a number of points. I think there's just some cool things sometimes that you just have happen. Overall, I think from game to game, it feels somewhat similar, but at the same time can feel very different depending on where certain types of colors of meeples are located. If there's a bunch of the same color kind of in the same area or on the same tile even, especially right off the bat in the game, it seems like some of those can have really, really juicy things. I give it a 9 for investment.
But I matching up again. I give this a 9 for investment as well. I think, like you said, overall the experience is probably going to be pretty similar from game to game. But each move is so unique, and it's such a puzzle trying to figure it out that, I think the replayability for me is off the charts.
I would agree. 100%. Then we get into presentation.
This is a Days of Wonder game. I think they're known for making pretty good looking games, and I would say this has some good wood in it. It's got those palaces with that little bit of shine on there for the gold, and those palm trees, all the camels look great. The tiles maybe aren't the best looking, but I think they're a perfect size, especially for having all those meeples on it. You can still see all the icons on there, and it holds them very well. I think I really like the look of the coins in the game. I gave it, did I tell my number?
I don't think so.
Oh, I gave it an 8.5. I think it's a pretty solid production.
Well, this is where we differ a little bit. I gave it a 10.
I thought you might like it a little more.
I'm always a big fan of wooden components in games, and you had said, this was, I don't know if it was the first game we had that had meeples in it, but it was definitely the first one with a lot of meeples that you were moving around. And this is what made me really fall in love with them in general, and just wooden pieces in games in general.
I'm forgetting. Are they unique?
I don't think they're unique, but I think it got me into the thought of meeples in games and stuff. And maybe I played Carcassonne first, but this was the first one that really used a lot of them. I just really love that, and like you said, the palm trees and the palaces really look nice. I really like the look of the tiles. I think it works perfectly for the game. Like you said, they're the perfect size. You can easily see icons on it. You can see which ones are controlled by camels. It's pretty much a perfect production. The insert with the coins, I think they can kind of fall out. That's probably the biggest negative for me.
That happens in so many games where they just have a little slot for coins and they almost never stay in there.
Right. So I'm not going to hold that against it. I'm just going to give it a 10. I'll say the insert because of that isn't perfect, but so maybe it deserves a 9.75. But I really love the whole look of the game.
It's
the whole
a great production.
I love the cover.
And I was tempted to put it a little higher, but there's just so many other games that I know of that are just more off the charts in production, but probably at a much higher cost.
Yeah, I think for being a little bit of an older one, although some of the older ones are really good looking.
Yeah.
And by no means am I saying, wow, this, back in the day, that's what I'm basing off of. Because I think even today it still is a very high quality one compared to some of these like Kickstarter games and stuff coming out with 5 expansions and all these goodies and stuff. I think it still can compete with that pretty well and be kind of on the same scale.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be interesting to see kind of I don't know if Days of Wonder ever does like a bigger version or deluxe version of the game, but it would be interesting if they had like meeples that I'm sure you can buy meeples that have different shapes and stuff. But it'd be interesting.
That'd be
to see
pretty cool. Because they did the anniversary of Ticket to Ride.
That's true. So, I guess I don't know how old this one is, or if they would do an anniversary edition of it.
Getting around there, I don't think they would though. Sadly.
But yeah, so then we get to preference, the second P.
The second P.
This is where I go down a little bit. I give it an 8.5. I do really, really love this game, but like I said before, I feel like I've only played at 2 because of how the bidding works in 2 and how you get 2 moves possibly. Maybe played at 3. I think 4 is... I don't know if we've played it at 4, but I just can't imagine that would be quite as enjoyable.
No, I think
it would make it even more thinky. I think that doing a 2-player game is kind of what helps loosen it up a little bit.
Yeah.
To not make it feel like, I have to do the perfect move, whereas there, you only get 1. If you were playing 4-player, you 1 out of the 4 move, or every 4 moves, and that just makes it feel like, okay, I have to really make this matter. Not that that's a bad thing, but
and I think it would feel like you have less control too, because if you're not going to be the first or second, you're really not going to know what the board's going to look like.
Right. So that's the only thing that really knocks it down for me, which isn't a bad thing, but at the same time, it's a little bit longer too for what I view as a 2-player game.
Yeah.
So it just won't feel like most of the time. I don't know, I would just be maybe looking for something shorter sometimes. But outside of that, I still really love the game.
Yeah, I'm evening it up for our last letter here. I am giving this a perfect 10, which, while I do prefer it at just 2 players, and while we admitted we don't get it to the table that often, and it is a little longer, although I think that it feels like the game progresses pretty well. And the options are more limited at the end, but I feel like there's still good ones, and it doesn't kind of just fall flat at the end. So I think the course of the game is actually pretty good. But yeah, I just like, you talk about games where you think about them afterwards. This is a game that I think about all the time, of just all the cool moves that you can do and move around and do the things, and I just love that system so much. That Mancala meeple movement, special unique abilities. It's just so juicy for my brain that, I mean, it couldn't be anything but a 10 when you talk about how I prefer this game.
Yeah, it would probably be a little bit higher, but probably part of it for me too is that, like you'd said, we don't get it to the table as much, so that's probably hurt it for me a little bit. But I would say that if anyone ever really offered to play 5 Tribes, I would be up for playing it.
Yeah.
Assuming it's not 4-player. I would probably still play it.
I'll watch you play.
I'd probably still play it, but I would prefer it to not be 4-player.
On to It Factor. I'm giving this one, maybe I should give it a 10. I'm giving it a 9.
Well, I'm going to give it a 10.
Oh, wow. Just trying to outdo each other. I just think, that the game is so unique. But like you said, we got this pretty early in our careers, and we were still able to play it, and we probably played it the most back then. And we were able to understand it and follow it, even though we were barely into the hobby. We were just little babies in this hobby.
Right.
So I think, it feels different from any other game. I can't think of another game that feels like this.
Yeah, it feels so special, and it just feels like a classic game.
It does.
And it feels like a main event game. One that we've done a video on recently for CHIPPI was Ethnos, and I think we said in that one it's kind of like a middle of a game night type game, not quite a main event game, but still solid. But this one to me feels like, but I guess if you're having a game night, it probably isn't 2 people. But if it was, this would be kind of the main event of the night. I think.
On to the main event. Only 2 of us.
We're gonna have 2 games of 5 tribes going, or maybe 3. No, I have to give it the 10, and probably because of that, I probably should have given preference a little higher, because when like you said, when I think of it, I really get excited as well. It's just, I don't know, it feels, it's one I don't think I could ever have leave the collection.
No.
Even if we didn't play it that much, it feels very special.
Yeah, this is a classic for us, and a classic, I think, just in general. I think this is one that probably anyone who wants to be called a gamer needs to have played this game.
I'm trying to think, is it in the Board Game Geek Top 100? I don't think it is.
I feel like it should be, but I don't remember ever seeing it. It does feel like a
game that should be, but I don't think it is. I don't actually know where it is.
We'll have to
take a look.
Put the number on the screen in editing.
But I think that ends up giving me an overall of a 9.4.
Ooh, boy. I win. I have a 9.5. Just speaking about, he hates the game.
Yeah, that preference. We have that weighted a little bit higher.
Yeah, I think that's the highest. That's a quarter.
Which is fair when it's, your personal opinion, your preference on games should be the highest piece, I think. So, 9.4, 9.5. I think it's a top game. Yeah, really the only cons to me are probably not maybe the best 4-player game. Even though I guess I haven't played a 4-player, so I shouldn't be just assuming. But
that's true.
I just don't think I would like it at 4 players as much. I think it would probably be more like a 7 then or something. Because I think it would still have everything cool. It would all work. It would feel like you're doing less in the game. But other than that.
Yeah, I think if you're really into 2-player games and you kind of like that puzzly nature to some games, I think this delivers it, and I think it's probably a perfect game to check out.
Yeah, I 100% agree. But yeah, that is 5 tribes. If you've made it this far and liked the video, definitely give us a thumbs up. We really appreciate it. Otherwise, we appreciate you watching this long. But yeah, if you want to see more Chippy reviews or possibly playthroughs of games and even our Alphabet Soup recaps.
See all the F games and which ones might even leave the collection.
Possibly.
Could it be this one?
Don't even think about it. Don't even say those words.
I would never get rid of a Bruno Cathala.
Yeah, definitely subscribe if you want to see some of those, or even just go maybe check out some more videos, see if you like them, because we've got our A, B, C, D recaps out there. See what games we do kind of like and which ones we've called a few. Even the A games, we called one of the actual Board Game Geek Top 100.
Yes.
So this one can just slide into its spot. But otherwise, we hope to see you on the next one. And as always, don't forget to
keep on nibbling
on our content.
Nacho,